Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to BTM, the Basketball Time Machine, your favorite old school show. Before I'm going to introduce today's guest, just a little reminder, if you want to hear more podcasts like this one, just make sure you hit that subscribe button so you always get notified once we upload a new podcast. All right, enough said. Today's guest played in the NBA from 1973 until 1978, Ernie DiGregorio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on.
Ernie, when was the last time when you actually shot a basketball?
This morning. At 6:30 this morning, I was working out a player in Buffalo, New York, who has ambitions to play in the NBA, a great shooter, Matt Hart. And we worked out this morning at 6:30 in the local YMCA at Orchard Park, New York.
All right. Are you still showing him some moves?
Yeah, I'm trying to teach him how to attack on the dribble like a lot of players, Sean. You know, he's a great shooter. A lot of players are great shooters, but they're not able to get their own shot. And that's the one thing I could do is, I practiced so many hours dribbling a basketball that I could, take it anywhere I want and protect it and get the shot I wanted on the court. And that's what I'm teaching him.
All right. You have been doing something like this for quite a while. Were you ever able to teach your passing gift to somebody?
No, I don't think you can teach that. That's, I was telling someone today, the great late Red Auerbach of the Celtics used to say to me that point guards can't be taught. They develop in the schoolyards when they're young. When you draw and dish and you penetrate and you do things like that, I don't think you can teach that to people. You can teach them, how to see the floor and stuff, but that you learn when you're really young and you develop that skill.
You were born in North Providence, Rhode Island in 1951. What was it like growing up over there in the 1950s?
It was good. It was a close-knit, area where everybody knew each other. I knew every store. I'd get up 6 o'clock in the morning with my basketball and be bouncing it, always pretending someone was trying to steal it. My next door neighbor would wake out of bed and yell out the window, "Stop bouncing that damn ball. We're trying to get some sleep over here." And then I'd go down to the court and I'd play all morning and have a strawberry soda and a piece of pizza for lunch, play all afternoon and go home and eat supper and run back and play until it was dark every day. So that's how you get good. You play like 8 or 10 hours a day for like 15 years and you should be pretty good at it, I think.
Well, if you got some talent, you should be, yes. So who was the one who taught you the game?
Basically no one. I started playing baseball when I was 12 years old, and I liked baseball. I never even touched a basketball, and then all of a sudden I realized you needed 9 people to play baseball, and I picked up a basketball and I said, gee, I could practice this all by myself. And that's what I did. I would play all by myself all the time, so I taught myself.
Do you remember who your first NBA idol was?
Yeah, I always idolized Jerry West for the Lakers because I thought he was a great scorer and could really, he used to score against the Celtics in the playoffs. Celtics were always playing in the playoffs, and I used to watch him, and he always played the Lakers for the finals, and West would have like 37 or 40 points, and they'd still lose. So he was the guy that I really, watched when I was younger. But in college, it was Jalen Rose's dad, Jimmy Walker. He played for Providence.
Oh,
College.
Nice.
And I used to watch him all the time, and I sort of picked up some of his moves. So I, patented my little spin move and my go-to shot after Jimmy Walker.
Oh, nice. You spent your high school and your college career in North Providence, Rhode Island, which is pretty unusual. What was the reason behind that?
Because I came from a close-knit family, and I wanted my mother and my father to watch me play basketball in college. So I chose Providence College. I had like over 250 scholarships, and I didn't even go visit a school. I made up that I wanted to play and be like Jimmy Walker and play in Providence College, which was only 10 minutes away from my house. And I used to watch all the games on television. And that's what happened. My mother and father got to see me play at Providence, so that was like a dream come true.
Yeah, I can imagine. You had a really great college career, also making it to the Final Four. What is your fondest memory of your college career?
I think, the friendships I got with the players I played with. I still have a lot of those players that are still my close friends. And, in college, you play basketball for fun. In the NBA, you play basketball for money. And it's a totally different atmosphere. When you're playing for money, people will do anything to, make that money. So it's not the same. So in college, you play for the love of the game. In the pros, people love to play. They also, the most important thing is making the money. So my college career was a lot more fun than my professional career.
Who was your biggest rival in your college days?
The University of Rhode Island, because we played them twice and they were interstate. So that would be the big rivalry. But the bigger games we played were against UCLA at UCLA in Pauley Pavilion when they had won 75 in a row. That was probably, to me, the most exciting college game I ever played, because to play against a John Wooden coach team with Bill Walton at center, and they won all those games, it was a great challenge because they were noted for their famous UCLA press. But between you and I dribbled through that press like a hot knife through butter.
Well, that was one of your gifts, right?
Yeah, it was. From all those hours of practicing dribbling the ball from my house to my elementary school, which was a couple of miles, I developed that skill of handling the ball.
I'm pretty surprised when you just mentioned earlier that Jerry West was your idol. You were pretty much ahead of your time. I'm surprised that guys like, for example, Bob Cousy, wasn't the guy that you idolized, because he was also so advanced and also pretty advanced with his ball handling skills. Wasn't he a guy that you looked up to?
Well, as my career went on, Cousy would go on record and say, of all the players he's ever seen play in his life, there's only one that really resembles how he played. And he said, Ernie D in it, with his ball handling and passing. So there was definitely, we were similar. But the fact that, they weren't on television a lot when Cousy played. So I don't think when I was in college, ever seen Cousy play on television. I never watched him play. But I got to see West play later, because the Celtics, were always in the playoffs, and I got to watch them. But I can never remember watching Cousy play in the pros.
Oh, crazy. But because I remember, obviously I was too young to see you play in your heyday, but of course as a basketball historian, I make my homework and watch a couple of games, watch highlights and everything. And the first thing that I thought was, you remind me so much of Bob Cousy. Only difference is, to me, you're the better passer. You made some of the craziest passes I've ever seen.
100% right, because I played my senior year in a Russian series against the Russians, and Cousy was our coach. And Cousy would say to the media, pound for pound, Ernie D is the greatest player in college basketball. So we did have a lot of similarities, how we seen the floor. Then I went on to play with the Celtics my last year with Havlicek and Collins. And I remember Tommy Hudson was the coach, and he would come up to me and tell me, I was the greatest passer he ever seen since Bob Cousy. So
nice.
You're right on the money. I played a lot like Cousy, but believe it or not, I never watched Cousy play. That was just the way I played.
Incredible. Back in the 1970s, you still had the ABA, which was basically the crazy rival league to the NBA. Why didn't you want to play in the ABA?
Well, when they were negotiating, I got drafted by the Kentucky Colonels, and all my life growing up, because I could not dunk a basketball, and I wasn't tall, and I wasn't fast, people always questioned how good I was. So when I played in high school, I played at a Class B North Providence High, and there was a Class A. I averaged like 37 points a game in high school, but everybody said if I played in Class A, I wouldn't be able to do that. But I went to prep school and averaged 30 a game and led St. Thomas More to the New England Prep School Championship, and went down to D.C. and played in the Knights of Columbus tournament against a John Thompson St. Anthony's team and the Napa team with John Wooden and all these great teams. And I won the MVP there. I was the leading scorer and leading assist player. And still everybody said when I went to college, I wouldn't be that good in college. But I went to Providence, and my freshman year, freshmen couldn't play varsity. And so I averaged 29 a game, and we used to sell it out every night. And we drew more than the varsity team. And everybody said, I was a great freshman player. I wouldn't be good enough to start in college. Then when I started as a sophomore, and then went on to be an All-American, they kept questioning and my ability to take it to the next level. So in the back of my mind, I always had to play in the NBA to prove to the critics that I was the real deal. And that's the big reason why I chose the NBA over the ABA. I wanted to prove that I could play. And my rookie year, I was the rookie of the year, and I led the league in assists and free throws. So I remember coming back to Rhode Island, and one of the people who watched me play in high school and prep school and in college said to me, Ernie D, the only skeptics that remain now are the true skeptics.
Well, you fulfilled your dream. You were drafted by the Buffalo Braves with the third pick in 1973. What was going through your mind on draft day when it finally realized?
I tell people this story all the time, and I'm writing a book that's coming out pretty soon. I'll have to call you and let you know about it. But I always said, when in 1973, the NBA never had the sophistication with the TV networks that they have now, where they have the draft on TNT, and the families come and they get in a green room, they get all dressed up, and the commissioner gets up there. When I got drafted, I was out in LA playing in the Forum. Cousy was the coach, and we were getting ready for the Russian series with Bill Walton and all the rest of the guys. And one of the reporters came up to me when I was doing a drill. I don't know if it was a shooting drill. And he said, did you know that you were just drafted by the Buffalo Braves, the third pick in the draft? I said, no, but thanks for telling me. Now I know.
No
so that's
way.
how, that's how downplayed it was in those days.
Wow. I've heard some pretty interesting stories when it comes to the draft in the 1970s, but oh man. Yeah, no comparison to today, man.
No, it's like the biggest day of a college player's life. So it was just, a reporter telling me, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned already the critics that you had. There were so many critics that wouldn't want to believe that it would be a wise decision to draft a 6-foot guard with a third pick. Did that add extra pressure to you in your rookie season?
No, because, when you're confident when you do something and you put in all those hours and you can do it, I didn't feel any pressure at all, because just give me the ball and let me do my thing. So, I never felt any pressure my rookie year, because I knew that, I had the ball and I could use the picks. I could run the break. One game against Portland on the road, I had 25 assists. That still is the highest assist record of any rookie in the history of the league. I got myself and Nate McMillan, but I got mine on the road where they're even harder. And so I had no doubt that I could do what I could do. It was the people who doubted because I was so much smaller than everybody. And, I was a little white guy in a black man's game, and they didn't think it was possible. But, I wasn't scared. I knew what I could do.
Your head coach was the legendary Jack Ramsey.
Yep.
How tough was it, for you as a rookie to have, such a legend as a head coach, such a tough legend as a head coach?
Well, he was right up front with me right from the get-go, and he said to me, Ernie, I can't give you this job. You have to earn it. So we had a game. The rookies played the veterans, and the veterans had Bob McAdoo, Jim McMillan, Randy Smith, Daher. They were loaded. And it was me with a bunch of people that no one really knew. And we played them a game, and we beat them. And I had like 30 points and like 15 assists. After that game, Ramsey said to me, you've earned the position. And then I played. So I had a lot of respect for Jack. He was a great coach. We had our differences when I got hurt my second year and third year. But, as the years went by, we became very close. And I had nothing but high regards for Jack Ramsey as a person and as a coach.
You just mentioned one of your teammates, the great Bob McAdoo. How much fun is it for you as a point guard to have such an elite scorer on your side where when you give him a sweet dime, he will also score with that pass?
Yeah, he's point guard's dream because, he could fill it up from everywhere. He was too big for little guys, and he had these long arms, and he shot the ball way over his head, which was unique. And he was too quick for the centers. We used to give Dave Collins of the Celtic fits because he had this great pump fake and he could drive. So he was a dream to play with because him and I really complemented each other. He was a great scorer and I was a great passer. So it made it easy for me to, we needed a hoop. I knew where to get the ball to.
Yeah. You already mentioned earlier your rookie season was sensational. You averaged 15 points, 8.4 assists. You won the Rookie of the Year award. Had 25 assists in a single game as a rookie, which is crazy. You were still such a young person. How tough is it mentally once the season is finished to put everything into perspective and not to lose your focus?
Well, I think it's the type of person you are when you grow up. Some people grow up and they think they're better than other people. And some people grow up and they respect other people. I've always respected people because I've never thought I was better than anyone. I just thought I practiced a lot and I was a good basketball player. So it never went to my head. I was never satisfied. If I went out, I'll tell you, when I was in college and I was a sophomore, we played the University of Massachusetts and they had the great Dr. J on their team. And he was still in college. And I said to myself, I cannot believe how high this guy can jump. But at the end of the game, I had 36 points and Dr. J had 19 points. A lot of people would say, Jesus, I'm a great player, I'm this and that. That only fueled me more to get on the court and practice more. So to answer your question, I was never satisfied. I never thought, I was anything special. I just loved to play basketball, and I worked my tail off to get good, and I knew what it took to get good, so it never went to my head.
All right. So your rookie season, unfortunately, was one of the few seasons where you were actually healthy. From your second season on, your body had to go through a lot, which prevented you from actually reaching your full potential. You only played 31 games in your second season. How tough was that mentally? Wanting to play, wanting to prove that the first season wasn't a one-year thing, and then not being able to play. How tough was it mentally?
It was real tough because the first game we played that year was in Boston, and I had 32 points. I shot 14 for 18 from the floor, and I could turn the corner on anyone. After you play your rookie year and you do the things I did, you come back really confident and poised, and now you're a veteran and you know what it takes. The second game against Chicago, I had 25. So in my mind, I'm going to make the All-Star team this year. Third game, we go out and play in Oakland, and I go try to make just a simple pass to my teammate, and I felt like a little pinch in my knee, and my knee swelled up, and I knew something was wrong. And it was eventually diagnosed as a torn cartilage. And in those days, they didn't have arthroscopic surgery. They had this big, procedure where they cut it and they take the whole cartilage out. They put it in a cast from your heel up to your hip, and you're in the hospital 6 days. So, they didn't have the modern medicine, the knowledge they know now. And so that really set me back. And when I tried to come back, it's always a matter of, do you have confidence in the knee and jumping? And do you feel like you're not going to hurt the knee? And so I would go in the gym by myself and just practice. And I had it great. I was jumping. I felt beautiful. And I felt like I was ready to come back. I went to visit the doctor, and he said to me, lock your knee. And I guess I couldn't lock it. But he made me start all over again lifting weights, because I was lifting weights in the pool and all that therapy stuff for months. And I thought I had it and I was ready to go. But he said it wouldn't lock, so it set me back tremendously. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have listened to the doctor. I just would have went out and played because I was ready to play. So that screwed me up for like 2 years. And, when it sets you back like that, and, coaches think that you lost a step and all that stuff, that's a tough thing to go through mentally. But believe it or not, I had my high of points, 36 points with no three-pointer after my knee surgery. So, in the back of your mind as a player, you always believe in yourself, no matter, whether they play you or you don't. So, but, I had 5 years in the NBA. My last year was with the Lakers and with the Celtics, and I had the opportunity to play in John Havlicek's last game, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn door. And when I got in the game, I had told one of the reporters, Bob Ryan, that all I'm going to do is throw the ball to Havlicek. And he says, "You can't do that." And I said, "Watch. I'll show you if I can." And I hit Havlicek with like a couple of layups and drops. And after the game, Havlicek always remembered. He signed me this big picture, and he said, "Ernie D, one more pass." So I had some really exciting times. I went through some tough times. But, Sean, that's life. We all go through good times and bad times.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that really stuck out to me was, even when you weren't able to perform, on the level that you once reached when you were a rookie, you were fortunate to play on the Lakers and the Celtics in the same season. I don't know who else had that opportunity. You played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You played for your childhood idol, Jerry West.
Right.
What was that like?
Yeah, but we didn't get along. Jerry West and I didn't get along, so that wasn't good.
Really?
Yeah, they definitely. He did not like me, and so it didn't work out. Jack Penn Cook, the owner of the Lakers and the farm, he made the trade without West's consent. So when they had the press conference, West wasn't even at the press conference. So one of the reporters came up to me and they said to me, "Do you know who's not here?" And I said, "I know who's not here." So there was no way I was going to play with the Lakers.
Oh, wow.
It's West was the coach. But, you run into those things. And that's why I'm trying to tell you, when you're in college, it's just a game. When you get into the pros, it's the money, it's the egos, it's, the coaches, it's this, it's totally a different animal. And that's why the people who play in the pros, you got to give them a lot of credit, because what do they say? 1 in every 100,000 or 1 million people ever make the pros. When I played, there were only 16 teams. Now they got 30 teams. That's 14 teams times 12 players, right? That's over like 160, 170 players that wouldn't even be in the league. Yeah. So I played when it was, they might say that the game wasn't good, but I played against some great players. I could name off, you had Nate Archibald, you had Oscar Robinson, you had Earl Monroe, Walt Frazier, Tiny Archibald, Rick Barry, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elvin
Sounds like
Hayes,
good players to me.
McAdoo. Oh, they're unbelievable players, I'm telling you. So it was a thrill of a lifetime. Like today, I told the kids I was working in the gym with, working with them. I said, I have more fun with this than you do. And I've done it for like 50 years. Keeps you young.
So when you look back on your entire career, who's the teammate that impressed you the most, or that you looked up to the most?
Yeah, this guy who came from Colombia, his name was Jim McMillan. He passed away last year. He was a 6'5" forward that played with the Lakers when they won those 33 games with Chamberlain and West. And remember that when the Lakers went on that? Bill Sharman was the coach, the all-time winningest streak ever. I think 33 games. The Lakers. They traded him to Buffalo. And Eddie Donovan was our general manager for Elmore Smith. And I loved playing with him more than anyone because all he did was he got you the ball and he ran and he ducked behind picks. And when he popped out, he caught it, he shot it. If he didn't have it, he drew it back to you and moved. Him and John Havlicek, they were both similar in how they played. Those are the two guys, that I really love playing with because they made the game easy for me and they let me work my magic, which was to hit the open man and see the floor. And when they kept moving and getting open, I'd hit them in stride and we'd make eye contact and then they just pull up and hit that jumper. And McAdoo was similar, that it was like poetry in motion. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Let's say you would have been healthy your entire career. I know it's a tough question, but I'm just curious. What kind of career you think you could have had? Could have been a Bob Cousy career? Could have been a John Stockton career? What kind of career you think you could have had?
I would have been an all-star for years and years because when I was healthy, I had that unique talent that most players don't have, which is to make other players better. Yeah. In other words, from all those hours when I was a little kid bouncing a ball and not looking at a ball, that created that confidence that I never looked down on the ball. And so I could see people and I could see the floor. And when players know that you can deliver them the ball, then they move without it and they get open or they run the break and stuff like that. But there's no doubt in my mind I could have played easily 12, 13 years in the NBA and been a starting point guard and one of the best ball handler playmakers in the game. Because I did it my rookie year when I knew nothing. I stepped in raw like a kid out of college and I had 25 assists on the road. Imagine if I would have been healthy and played every year. Yeah. I would have just gotten better and better.
Yeah.
But that's right. I look back at a lot of my teammates, they're all dead. And I say to myself, what do I want to be alive or do I want to, complain that I went through a tough time? I'll take life a while.
All right, last question. You were one of the best free throw shooters in NBA history. For me, as a former basketball player who was always shooting around 70%, what was your secret? Was it just reps and repetition? Was it a special gift? What was your secret?
Yeah, my secret was I used to go to the gym every day and shoot 100 free throws and then go home and write it down on a chart. And when I started, I'd be 73 out of 175. Then I could make 97, 98, 99. Every time I got fouled, before I went to the line, I would say three things before I even got there. And one would be, just like a guy who puts a golf ball to the hole, never leave it short. Because if it's short, it can never go in. You can shoot it hard and hit it off the backboard and go in, or hit the back of the rim and go high in the air. So I would never leave it short. Secondly, I'd say to myself, always use my legs. And John Havlicek taught me that later. I never realized it. Shooting is all your legs, your arms just guide it. So I would make sure I would bend my knees, and I would always, the third thing I'd say is put it nice and high and follow through. Arc the ball. Those three things I did, and that .903 my rookie year is still the record for highest free throws as a rookie in the history of the league. And then my third year, I missed 3 out of my first 10 shots. But for the year, I shot 138 out of 146 for .945. That beat Bill Sharman's record that he had for like 30 years.
Yes,
so
that's
that was a good
crazy.
free throw shooter.
That's crazy. All right,
Hey,
man.
do me a favor.
Yes.
Where are you located?
In Germany, my friend.
In Germany. Keep in touch, because I got to come out in the next month that's going to blow you away. I'll tell you about it when it's getting. It's an unbelievable story, and I gotta get. When you get this book, you're gonna love it. I'll send you a copy. I'll sign it to you once it's out. But I'm working with a big investor that wants to get involved with me, so I can't give you the particulars. I want you to know about it because you'll eat it up because you love basketball.
All right. When is the book going to be released?
When I get in, did you know that I was inducted in the College Hall of Fame class this year, 2019? Yeah, and I'm going to be going 2019. And I'm going to be going to Kansas City with Calvert Chaney, Shane Battier, Coach Luke Olson, a whole bunch of guys. Check it out. And that's when it's going to be out. But before it's out, I'll give you all the skinny. You won't believe this one.
All right, you guys, there you go. Ernie D is going to release a new book, which is coming out pretty soon. He's going to be back on the show telling us more about the book when the time has come. So you better stay tuned.